So of course we would like to keep our turnbuckle, but we can't get the upper part that presses onto the stay anymore, so they need to be specifically made. But in the end, it actually turns out to be cheaper to make those and keep the old turnbuckles than getting all new turnbuckles in terminals. A+ rigging has just been amazing. They've helped us so much in just finding the parts and finding the people who need to make parts. They've also been letting us do most of the work ourselves, so that really reduced the costs of re-rigging the boat. It was, their help was absolutely amazing. Wil je dat ik zeg, voilà.
Voilà. Mooi hoor.
So we actually re-rigged the boat while keeping the masts on, which is, it happens more often, but it's not super usual. We mostly did this because taking off the masts is another big cost, but also taking off all the Electra down below. It brought so much more work that we simply didn't have the time nor the money to do that. And yes, of course, now I needed to hoist thunder up the mast for everything, and I think I hoisted him up at least 30 times. But I've become really strong, so that's great, and he's been doing a lot of climbing, so that really helps me, and I think in the end it worked out really well like this. So in addition to all the stays we already have, which are 23, by the way, we decided to add 2 more jumper stays up in the main mast. The Mizzen already has a jumper, But the main mast has running backstays, which we're going to keep as well, but right now they are really, really important, and we just can't forget them. That seems a little tricky to us, especially sailing with unexperienced people. So we're going to add a jumper to add a little bit more strength to the mast and a little bit more safety, so the running backstays aren't just as necessary as they were before. So we're going to make this jumper ourselves, since I'm just incredibly lucky to have a really handy dad who has all the tools on board. So we went over to him for a couple of days and made the jumper, also fixed a couple of other things at the same time, since he just knows how to weld aluminium, and he has a lathe and so many handy things.
Dit is nu 70.
Ja.
Maar nu je het zo op het dek ziet liggen, dan denk ik, valt uit. Dan mag die echt wel hebben.
So my dad built this really beautiful Norwegian fish cutter. I really should do a story about that one day. Anyhow, instead of gaffs, he's putting wishbones on it, so it's a little bit easier to sail on his own. And he's just in the process of building them, so you can see them on the deck here.
Hallo Tim. Hallo Tim.
Gaat wel.
Randje, volgende keer dat
So here Sander is just marking out the middle of the plate and the sides, so we know exactly where to weld on the spitters, so they're in the right place. And for later, it's nice to have those center lines to be able to drill the holes for the bolts in a straight line. Yes. Is he working on the lathe? Can you explain what we are making? Oh, that's what we're making. And you just made some slight adjustments.
Yes.
Okay. I got it.
pakt, dus die niet bedreven zijn erin, dan pak je dit zo op of in de vuilnisbak en dan blijft er eentje
Oké.
hangen en dan snij je.
So these are new insulators in our aft stay. They are used for the SSB radio, which I also had on my round the world trip, and it's just the most awesome thing. And I really want to put an SSB radio back on this boat because I think it's just a really cool way of communicating. It adds another way of communicating. You can add the sail mail to it. Yeah, the SSB radio is still one of my favorite things.
Duwen. Duwen. Ja. Duwen. Duwen. Nog een keer.
Goed zo! High five! Ja?
0. 22, 26.
22, 26.
First, we need to take the old furler apart because we need some of the parts for the new furler. There's actually going to be a completely new furler on it. And we needed to turn all new bushings for it because about every meter on the stay there needs to be a bushing on it so the stay doesn't actually touch the profile of the furler. That's what the little white thing is that you see here. Yeah. So the head stay is rod rigging, which is a little bit different process to all the other stays, which are wire. On rod rigging, you actually press a head on it, which then just sits in a terminal instead of pressing the terminal onto the stay.